Hello to everybody. I think we can start. Buongiorno. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you here today, although virtually. So my name is Marleen Verstreken and I am the General Deputy for Flanders Investment and Trade in Milan. Flanders Investment and Trade is the government agency that promotes sustainable international business in the interest of both Italian-based companies in our case and the Flanders-based companies. So Flanders is the northern federated state of Belgium with Brussels as its capital and the gateway to Europe. We have 90 offices worldwide, 2 in Italy, so 1 in Milan and 1 in Rome. So a warm welcome in the first place to those innovative companies that change the world. Scale-ups and startups reflect the confidence of a country in the economic environment, in its prospects and in its future. Our speakers today are Olivier Van Orshoven, our Deputy Director in World Investments at the headquarters in FIT Brussels. Mathilde Goethals, who is responsible for international scale-ups and at Start-It-X. It's a spin-off of the Belgian bank KBC. And the Belgian bank KBC, they also have an office in Milan. And then Stefania Barbato, who will highlight the Fintech district Lombardy. She's the community manager of Fintech district. I hear you asking why Flanders? Well, believe me, it's one of the best kept secrets in Europe. Of course, you know that Flanders is close to Europe's institutions and purchasing power, and that we speak your language. But do you also know that Flanders is the fourth most productive workforce in the world? In Flanders, you set up a business in 4 days. You pay 0 social security for your first employee, even if this is your country manager. Flanders has the best R&D incentives in Europe, is the second in Europe for innovation efforts and the most globalized country. And last but not least, the 8th in the world global workforce happiness index. How does Flanders blaze those R&D and innovation trail in Europe? Well, Flanders' innovation-driven economy provides everything a company needs to grow sustainably through top-notch research and development in the heart of Europe. This is not a coincidence, as private, public and academic players in Flanders, they go to great lengths to join their forces and to innovate together. Very often it happens in clusters. In addition, the government of Flanders strongly supports business innovation through R&D tax incentives, while this local R&D friendly tax system allows those companies to recover part of the innovation investments. But our experts will explain this further to you. Few regions are as consistently ranked among Europe's and the world's finest innovation environment as Flanders is. But don't take our word for it. Here are a few examples. So it's the first in Europe when it comes to the proportion of enterprises with innovation activities, and the second within the EU for innovation linkages. What does this mean? This means that SMEs in Flanders, they have great in-house innovation capacities, but they excel also in setting up effective joint projects. So this also refers to the private players in Flanders co-funding those public R&D expenditures, and it shows a great public-private cooperation. What are the hard goals? Considering we have no raw materials, we point on innovation, and that is why we need you. So we have an open economy, and we believe that bringing together brilliant minds and brilliant ideas is the best way to grow and to go further. Innovation is big business in Flanders, and also the figures confirm it. The region ranks among the biggest R&D spenders in Europe and even around the globe. So R&D expenditure is 3% of GDP, so it's significantly higher than the European average. Just a few examples. Do you know that the researchers of Flanders, they developed the actual contraceptive pill? They were the first to unravel the DNA sequence of a gene. Shazam, for example, was afterwards bought by Apple, was founded in Flanders. Even the World Wide Web was invented by Robert Caillot together with Tim Berners-Lee. And we were also the first to use stem cells in bone transplantations. But concretely now, what are the concrete actions that we can do? So during this webinar, we will explain you better how we can help you better to access the market. After the webinar, there will be a pitching sessions for the selected companies. Those companies are going to be informed around 2:30 if they can participate to the pitching sessions that will start at 3 p.m. and they will be of about 7 minutes max. So after the pitching, then a professional jury will select the winner of the customized version of the StartX acceleration program that Mathilde will explain you later. And it is in collaboration with the Belgian bank KBC. They offer several weeks of free office space in Flanders, high-level warm introductions, and free and confidential local guidance and advice that we give always to our foreign companies to enter the North European market with success. So you will be muted during the presentation, so please put your questions in the chat. The webinar is going to be recorded, and at the end of the webinar, we'll have a Q&A session where you can formulate additional questions you might have. So I wish you an interesting session. I give the word to Olivier, our Deputy Director Investments, and he will illustrate the dynamic startup and scale-up landscape in Flanders. Please, the floor to you, Olivier.
Thank you, Marleentje. I hope you can all see my presentation. So my name is Olivier Van Orshoven. I'm working for Flanders Investment and Trade, and as Marleentje already introduced, I'm responsible for inward investments from Europe, and I have a focus on acquiring startups and scale-ups to our region. First, let's set the scene. Where is Flanders located and what do we have to offer? As Marleentje already referred to, we are part of the federal state Belgium. We have 3 independent regions, Flanders, Wallonia and Brussels, with own government, with an own parliament, and every region is responsible for its own trade and investment policy. So we are a Flanders Investment and Trade Agency, so we work directly for the region Flanders and we work directly for the Flemish government. The location is quite unique. We're very centrally located in Europe. 60% of the European purchasing power is within a 500-kilometer range around Flanders. And of course, we have some very important organizations in the area, like the NATO and like the European institutions. What does it mean for startups and scale-ups? Well, also there we have a very unique position. You all know we have 5 super startup hubs in Europe. Well, Flanders is located just in the middle of 4 of them. So we're located in the middle of Amsterdam, Berlin, Paris and London. So for many of us, it's very easy to travel to all those locations, and it is very common to have meetings during a day in Paris and go back home in the evening with our high-speed trains. And of course, at the same time, we can do business with those startup hubs, but our office locations are still payable. Which is also very interesting for cost-efficient startups, as many of you are. This situation is very unique, by the way. I can't recall any location in the world just in the middle of 4 startup super hubs. This gives a lot of opportunities. Setting up a business in our region is quite easy. We have fast-track lanes to set up a business. So in 4 days, you can have your company set up and you can start doing business. Let's go a little bit deeper into our startup ecosystem, and I would like to focus on 4 different pillars, mainly market, technology, talent, and funding. And let's start with our market. I can be very short on this because Mathilde will elaborate on this a little bit further. But like I already explained a little bit earlier, we are right in the middle of the purchasing power range of Europe, but also very important, we are a crossroad market, meaning that all different cultures we have in Europe, they all come together in our region. So we're right in the middle. We are really a bridge between the Anglo-Saxon markets, between the Rhone markets, between the Nordic German markets. And this gives, of course, a lot of opportunities. A lot of the people who are living in our area are bilingual. They speak at least Dutch and French. German and English are also not a big problem. Of course, we also have our port, which is still the second largest port of Europe, and with the second largest chemical cluster in the world, the largest in Europe, by the way. And also there we have a lot of incubation programs. We have a lot of accelerator programs, which makes it a very interesting area for those startups who are dealing in these sectors. Also on the life sciences side, we are an R&D powerhouse. All the big pharma companies have R&D facilities in our region. Many of the vaccines, by the way, of Europe are also produced in our region. So here we see a lot of opportunities for startups to collaborate with big companies, with labs, with R&D centers, but I will deal with that a little bit later on. Technology and innovation, that's our second pillar, and Marleen already referred to it several times. Innovation is absolutely a key driver in our region. We're quite small. We have very good location, but we are very small. We don't have a large domestic market. So we have to find a way to have a unique selling proposition. And that's not only our location, but that's also our innovation drive. And as you can see in this chart, we all know those top innovation leaders of Europe, the Nordic countries, but as you can see, we're very close to them and we're really part of the top group in Europe when it comes to innovation. What are the key drivers of innovation in Flanders? That are our universities. We have 5 universities in Flanders. And as you can see, 4 of them are in the top 100 of the most innovative universities in Europe, with Leuven even on number 1. And this is, by the way, for several years the case. Also Ghent is a top 50 player, and then you have the Brussels University and the Antwerp University, all part of the top 100 innovative universities. That means that they're very used to have spin-offs, that they have a lot of requests for IP and for patents. That's actually the power of innovation. But before you think, okay, universities, that's very difficult a partner to work with. Also there we have a lot of opportunities, because what have we done in Flanders? We created 4 strategic research centers, and those strategic research centers are the place where the industry, the companies, and the smart people of the universities can work together and collaborate and work together on IP, for instance, or new technologies, both software and hardware. So we have 4 strategic research centers. First of all, we have VIB, which is focused on biotech. And by the way, we are one of the top sectors in the world, top regions in the world for biotech. We have Flanders Makes, which is more focusing on the product and production technology and the processes, manufacturing, robotics, for instance. Vito is one of the largest research centers when it comes to energy, materials, environment. And then, of course, we have IMEC, the nanotechnology specialist, digital technology specialist, semiconductors, all the big companies like Samsung, LG, Philips, name them, they're all working in the labs of IMEC in Flanders. So you see here, these research centers are really collaboration units between universities on the one hand and companies on the other hand. And before you wonder, also for startups, these research centers are very accessible. And most of the research centers have their own incubation programs and acceleration programs. And also there, they have very strong scores. You can see IMEC, for instance, they have top university accelerators in the world. So you see that there is a very good collaboration on the different parts and with different actors. The key ingredient of all those research centers and by extension all the different clusters we have, Marleen already referred to it, that's actually our cluster model. That's based on a triple helix model. These are the places where you can find collaboration between industry, academia, so the university, but also the government. We are very active when it comes to innovation. We have a lot of tools, grants, tax incentives when it comes to innovation. And these are actually the places where you can meet the universities, where you can build your IP, and where you can develop new technologies, accessible for large corporations, but also for startups. And for startups, this is a very interesting place to be because you have easily access to many company structures and collaboration structures with those companies and universities. So that's also mean, and that's of course a consequence of this system is that we have a lot of innovation linkages between different companies. That's quite important actually. That means that our companies have easily access to IP and to labs and to new technologies of the universities. So for us, the technology centers and the universities are not very closed organizations. They are very open to do business and to collaborate with the industry and look for new inventions. That's on the side of technology innovation. Of course, if you claim that you have a top innovative region and that you have top universities, this also means, of course, that we can deliver with the talent. Otherwise, we won't have a lot of innovation in our universities and in our industry. So you can find a lot of top talent in our university in different sectors, by the way. What about funding? Also, funding is speeding rapidly. Last year in COVID times in 2020, our startups in Flanders were able to raise more than 1 billion euro in 1 year. This is quite unique. In total, there are only 6 countries in Europe who are able to raise more than 1 billion euros in 1 year. And so since 2020, we are part of that club. If we even add our biotech startups and our biotech companies, we just raised more than 2 billion euros in new capital in 1 year. What kind of funding do we have? Of course, we have our seed fundings, heavily supported, by the way, by the government. These days, we're very, very active in the Series A. As I will explain a little bit later, our ecosystem is becoming more mature. We have more and more scale-ups. Which means that we have strong system for the Series A, and then we have also access to Series Bs and later. Many of the Series Bs we have are, by the way, international VCs. So you see that there is also an interest from international VCs into Flanders and to scout for scale-ups and technology that our companies are building in the region. So what are, just to give you an idea of the top Belgian investors and foreign investors in 2020. So on the left side there you see the list of the Belgian investors with PMV. That's a government-owned VC. I will explain it a little bit later on. But there you have the top 10, and also on the foreign investors you see that the big ones are scouting in the region. Index Ventures, probably well known by one of the early investors in Facebook, by the way. ID Invest Partners, one of the biggest in France. So you have a lot of opportunities. Those are the VCs who are looking for the Series Bs and to bring your company to the next level. So there is money available, as you could see in the figures, more than 1 billion raised in 1 year. I just come back to the PMV. PMV is a state-owned VC. That's a unique organization, and they do several things. So we can easily bring you in contact with them. On the one hand, they do equity, like a real VC, but this is also the location where you can have loans, guaranteed loans. If you go to the bank, you can, and since you're a startup, it's not always very easy to have loans. Well, our government VC can give you guarantees so that you can have your commercial loans. You can find your commercial loans with the banks. So Marleen also referred to the different packages we have. And we have a specific supporting package for Flemish startup companies. So once you set up your company in Flanders, you're considered as a Flemish startup, and you can have access to all these different packages. And so we really would like to kickstart your company. Whether you have an Italian HQ, it doesn't matter, as long as you have boots on the ground in Flanders, and then you can have access to our growth subsidies every year, which is more than 75,000 euros a year you can use. We have no social contributions for your first employee, very interesting tax-free expat allowances, and of course, once you're a Flemish company, you can rely on all our offices worldwide. Like Marleen already referred to, we have offices, more than 170 business advisors in 90 offices worldwide, and they can advise you, and that's, by the way, free advice, so they help you internationalize and expand your company. On the bottom line, you have the different R&D tax incentives we have. These are absolutely top-notch. There is a reason why all the big pharma has their R&D centers in Flanders. Well, this is actually the reason, because we have a lot of R&D tax incentives, and this is also very important and very interesting for the startups dealing with R&D and new technologies. I will not go into detail on every aspect of it, but please contact Marleen in Milan or Sophie in Rome if you would like to have more information on this package. How does our startup landscape look like? Well, like I said, we have a very strong ecosystem. The value of our ecosystem for the moment is more than 40 billion euros in 2020, and expanding rapidly. We are actually the #1 runner-up to the really large super hubs of Europe. So we are the next one and we're really growing very fast. So we really believe that in the next couple of years we will close the gap to other countries, like for instance Switzerland or Sweden even. So we have a lot of potential there as well. What are the maturity of the startups we have? 43% of our companies are still early stage startup. But as you can see, the ecosystem in Flanders is becoming very mature with 38% scale-ups. So it's almost a 40% split. Our debt pool is very small, because we really screen companies and really try to make sure that we don't have zombie companies, because that's not how you build an ecosystem. And of course, we have, like I said, more and more, 10%, 11% of our startups yearly are acquired by international companies, of course supported by all those VCs circling around our ecosystem. We are a very small region. Like I said, we don't have a large domestic market. We do have large domestic markets around us, but this has actually an influence on the type of startups we have. And 70% of the startups we have are B2B focused. We have many incubators and accelerator programs, and as you can see, we have started at KBC program. Mathilde will elaborate on the Started X program in the next presentation. We have the IMEC startup programs. We have Scaleup Flanders program. But as you see, these are very large incubation accelerator programs and well known in our region. So we're not very big, so everybody knows everybody. So it's an honor actually to be part of one of these programs, and that's also one of the goals we try to achieve this afternoon with the pitch, to give you accessibility and to give you a chance to work together with many of these with the programs we have. What are the technologies at the moment? Of course, this switches every year, but this is more or less stable. The top three is more or less stable. First of all, we have health tech, medtech, health tech. These are important. Like I said, we have a lot of big pharma in the region. Biotech is extremely big, and of course, one of the supporting technologies and sectors is health tech and medtech. There we see a nice combination between the biotech and the big pharma sectors we have together with IMEC, and that's the reason why we have so many health tech companies in our region. Manufacturing is also very important. We manufacturing, so we don't have the large factories. Those factories are mainly built in Germany, but we do have very focused factories, which gives opportunity on the manufacturing level. On the technologies, very typical SaaS. We are a B2B ecosystem, so the SaaS technologies are very common, and there you can see the top 5 of the technologies. So that was the introduction for our Flemish ecosystem for startups. Q&A will be after the presentation. So I'm very happy to give the word to Mathilde.
Okay, thank you, Olivier. Let me share with you what I have to say. So hi everybody, my name is Mathilde. I am responsible for international scale-ups and bringing them to Flanders at StartedX. StartedX is an organization closely connected to KBC Bank and Insurance, one of the leading banks in Belgium, and started at KBC. As Olivier mentioned, started at KBC is the largest startup accelerator in Belgium, so I'm proud to be part of that with StartedX. We already discussed what makes Flanders special and why startups and scale-ups should come to Flanders, but I would like to shed more light on how to enter Flanders. And more precisely, I want to tell you your shortcut to market expansion by leveraging the right network. We asked 2 years ago, over 200 scale-ups, what is the cost of scaling? And actually all answers brought us to one conclusion. Scaling is hard, is time consuming, and is very costly. Not only exploring the market and getting to know the region takes money and time, but also markets are not the same. Even if you are already present in 5 markets and you've done the process over and over again, the 6th market can take you by surprise and can be slower than anticipated. There are no warm introductions. Getting to know people takes time. Putting your name on the map is a costly process, and it takes a lot of effort. This is when my team and I started asking ourselves, why is entering a new market so hard? And after the talks with over the 200 scale-ups, the startups, the VCs and the investors, it actually became quite clear. All the companies use what we call the traditional approach. Either they hire a full-time employee in their markets or in the market that they want to prospect, or they work with a partner. As you probably all know, I don't know whether you already hired employees or you're still with the founders team, or whether you're already working with partners, but hiring a full-time employee is a very time-consuming activity. It takes over 12 months before the sales rep is familiar with the material. They have to start from scratch because they don't know anybody in the market. They have no network, no connections, no trusted advisors. There are no warm introductions, and after 12 months, there are no guaranteed successes. Another approach could be to work with a partner, and this is something that a lot of our scale-ups that we talked with are or were doing. But you have to know that the partner, a setup of a partnerships also takes 6 months. Partners, they eat away your margin. A partnership management is more work than initially thought. And you lose control over your scaling process. You don't know exactly what the client is giving as a feedback. You don't know what the feedback is from the prospects once you have a sales conversation. So the problem with full-time employee hiring or working with the partnerships can be combined into 4 key challenges, as I like to call it. First of all, in the beginning, you have no attention. You have no trust of the right people. It takes you a lot of time with a full-time employee, with a partner, and you have actually no control over your whole process of entering a new market. This got us thinking. We know the key issues. We talked with a lot of companies. How do we solve this? We have a huge network. We have KBC. We have the startup accelerator started at KBC. How do we solve this? And this is when we came with our expand model. By introducing scaling companies to the right prospect network, we want to get attention from the right people. We want decision makers to trust you. We want to offer you a shortcut in time and give you back your control over your international expansion. And by combining these 4 key elements of scaling, we want to offer you that shortcut in market expansion. This all sounds very nice and very promising, but I do want to give you an insight into how this actually works. Our expand model, as we like to call it, consists of 4 phases. The first phase is the onboarding phase. It takes 2 weeks, and during that phase, we want to get to know your company. We create an expand blueprint in which we together decide who is your prospect that you want to see in the market. Who for you is the right decision maker? Is it the CEO? Is it the head of procurement? Is it the innovation manager? Because that is difficult and different for every company. During that onboarding phase, we really want to know what made you successful in your home market and what do you want to achieve in this market, in Flanders in this case. During the onboarding period of 2 weeks, we also do an expert network briefing, as we call it. We take all the information from the blueprint internally and we start checking our network. Who in our network do we know that we can connect you with? Who is the expert that can take your hand and that can introduce you to the right companies? And after 2 weeks, when we defined your KPIs, your plans, your ideal prospect and your ideal decision maker, when we have set our list of good experts, we together decide who the expert will be and we start setting up our collaboration. The expert that is a huge fund, of course, of your scale-up and that wants to open his or her personal network will start by making referrals, will start by making personal connections and will open his or her network to you. And after the 2 weeks of onboarding, the 2 weeks of setup, we can start exploring. And what we saw is from previous cases, we already worked with over 30 companies at this stage. Actually, after the 2 weeks of onboarding, the 2 weeks of setup, we come to the exploring phase. And during that exploring phase, even after 3 to 4 weeks, we were able to deliver a first decision maker meeting. After 3 meetings, we of course review it. Are you happy with the experts? Are you happy with the decision makers? Are you happy with the meetings that we make? If everything goes well, we continue the flow and we can provide you a continuous influx of decision maker meetings. If things have to be steered a bit more towards a different direction, for example, you focused on head of procurement, but now you really want to talk to the innovation manager, we can steer that and we can then take a new track and start expanding. These 4 phases make that after 12 to 16 weeks, your company is actually able to get to know the market, talk with the right experts, getting introduced with over 10 ideal companies and set up a venture in Flanders. Of course, I can explain you this model and I can promise you that after 12 weeks things will go right and you are able to expand. You don't have to take my word for it. After doing this for many companies now and working with a continuous feedback system, we were able to optimize our model and our way of working. We are already able to cover different sectors, ranging from construction to fintech to health tech, agrotech, and so on. And we are covering today areas ranging from UK to Israel to the Nordics and beyond. I am very, very curious of what I will see this afternoon during the pitch sessions, because I think an Italian scale-up company in our portfolio would be very, very welcome. So I do want to invite you to either let's start talking, grab up your phone and give me a call or explore more. Go to our website, pipelinebuilding.com, or we see each other this afternoon in the pitch and I will be very, very happy to welcome you to Startup Takes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mathilde. So I'm happy to give the floor now to Stefania Barbato of Fintech District Lombardy. She's the community manager, and she will highlight this very active cluster. They are a partner of Flanders Investment and Trade, and I want already to thank them for their collaboration on the. They are also very interested to present what they are doing to our Flemish companies. So please, Stefania, thank you.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Marleen, for the invite. I will take just a couple of minutes to tell you more about what is the Fintech District, because you know, we are focused on the Italian market and on the fintech vertical, which is one of the main areas that you already evidenced in the presentations. And what we do is basically to create business opportunities for the different stakeholders of our ecosystem. I don't know if I can go forward with the presentation.
You can press take control on top, and then you can navigate to the presentation yourself.
Okay.
In Teams on top, you see take control.
Oh, yes, sorry, thank you.
Go.
Okay, so what is the Fintech District? Basically, the Fintech District is a community of fintechs. We have a wonderful building in the heart of Milan that, of course, right now we don't visit, but it's a cool place to create opportunities. And our aim since the beginning was to create open collaboration projects. So you have to guess that we have these fintechs that they are our treasure, we say. And then we have also investors, financial institutions, corporates, professional and other traditional institutions who want to get in touch with them to create opportunities and also to do open collaboration projects. We were born something like 3 or 4 years ago. And our reason to be was that the Italian numbers were very different from the other European countries. In fact, in the previous presentation, if you have noticed, Italy wasn't in the list of the main innovation areas. And we wanted to give a boost to our economy, just doing an aggregation of all the different stakeholders. And in particular, what we have created in these 3 years is this kind of relationships. In particular, we have more than 178 fintechs. And you have to imagine that just 3 years ago, we are 26 fintechs in the community. So we were born also because it means that the stakeholders operative on the Italian market were grown during these 3 years. Then we aggregated 16 corporate members who want to get in touch with the fintechs, such as banks, as you know, we are part of Banca Sella, a main Italian bank, and also other banks. We had AXA, Società Generale. Right now in our community we have Credem and also other corporates, big techs such as IBM or Amazon Web Services. Then we also aggregate 10 international hubs. These are the hubs which we collaborate in a particular way, but actually we can get in touch with most of the main internationalized areas. And for example, this is also the reason why we were very happy to be here on the Flanders event, because we think that create a collaboration through Europe, but also through the world, is very important, because for a startup, the mission is to scale up. So we want to give the opportunity also to our members to have this chance through these collaborations. Then we also have other kind of players, such as aid professionals, legal or tax administrative, or also technical partners. What is important is that to create opportunities in this network, we do a lot of different events. In particular, we have done more than 100 events, and of course more than 10 webinars during the last year. But the main important thing is that these events were the occasion of networking for all the different members and to create the open collaboration project that we think can be the future of the financial services. And in fact, this is the reason why another KPI that we have is to count the matchmaking that we create between corporate and the fintechs of the community. So this is our favorite slide, because you can see which are our members. There are different areas, from the insurtech to the digital payments through artificial intelligence or other kind of technologies and solutions. All these fintechs, they have in common that they are operative in the Italian market. So it's not important for us if they were born in Italy or they from abroad, but it is important that they have at least some customer here in our country. And you can see that there are also unicorns such as Revolut or N26, and this is also because we don't take early stage startups. We just take startups with our product already developed. Then just a couple of words about a program that we have created for the fintechs that come from abroad, because the community, as I already have said, is focused on the Italian market. But in the meanwhile, during our meetings with the other startups that couldn't join the community because they weren't already operative in our country, we have realized that we needed to do something also to aggregate them. And this is the reason why with the major city of Milan, we have created this program that is called the Soft Landing Program, and it has been launched in February. And it's a program to support the fintechs that want to come from abroad to our Italian market. So we offer different opportunities such as marketing, knowledge, and connection. Then I don't give the details, but if you are interested, you just ask me for more. Then I want to end with our main event, because on the 4th of October, probably in an hybrid way, because we are not ready yet to come back to our building, we will launch the Milan Fintech Summit. That is maybe the main fintech event here in Italy, because it's created also with Yes Milano, that is the brand of the major city of Milan. And it will be a 2-day just dedicated to the fintech ecosystem. So also a good part of our corporate and fintech members will be there through 10 panels about different thematic areas of the fintech. So this is all. If you want to know more from me, you can just write me. And I give the word back to Marleen.
So thank you, Stefania. So I hope that you all had an inspiring session. I see a question in the chat. I think Olivier refers to your presentation. So there is Carolina Kramkova who asks if some of the VC investors presented in your presentation are active or focusing on mobility or energy innovation. So maybe you can answer, Carolina.
Yes, I don't know by heart which one of the investors in the list are focusing on mobility and energy, but we definitely have those VCs and funds, especially on the energy innovation side. There are a lot of opportunities. Energy questions are very important in our region, especially because with the port of Antwerp, like I said, we have the largest chemical cluster in Europe, and there we deal with heavy energy consumption organizations and companies. So every technology that can save energy is welcome and supported by many organizations. On the other hand, we have the North Sea, and we have the 3rd largest offshore wind mill park in Europe for the moment. And also there we have incubators and programs to collaborate on that part of the energy cycle. And a 3rd element is hydrogen. Hydrogen is becoming also a very important energy storage and transportation mode, also for the port of Antwerp. So also there we see a lot of investments and collaborations for new technologies.
Thank you, Olivier. I don't see any other question in the chat. So, and yeah, we remain available for all further questions for what considers the selections of the companies. So we will send an email to the companies that are selected for the pitching session. So by 2:30, you will get an email. The session for the pitching will start at 3 o'clock. I wish a lot of success to the pitch for the companies pitching this afternoon. I thank Marleen and Olivier from headquarters, my colleague Francesco from our Milan office, and Sophie from our Rome office. So of course, for other details or other informations, we remain available also through the contacts that you see on the last slides. And I promise you that next time we'll see how we organize something, we will be happy to offering you a good glass of beer or even two and a good chocolate. So anyhow, we want to be in contact, to keep the contact with you, and we are happy to give you further information whenever desired. So arrivederci, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.